Welcome to another episode of Until It's Done, a devoted podcast. I'm your host, Dana Lynn Kay. I'm back in the studio, and I have a really great guest today with me. Her name is Carrie Best, and she is a lifestyle nutrition coach. We connected about a year ago. I'd say a year ago, maybe a little more, maybe a little more, maybe 2 years ago. I don't even know. I lost track of time. And we met for coffee because we were both local. You were introduced to my brand by some people that I've, been in touch with for years. And we thought like it would be fun to connect. We'd have a lot in common and a lot to talk about. We ended up having a long chat in a coffee shop for hours.
Random, yeah.
And we definitely aligned on so many things. And so I thought it was just the perfect opportunity to take the conversation onto the podcast and continue it, because I think we have a lot of really great things to talk about. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Yeah, me too. So first of all, I just wanted you to tell your story, because you told me a lot in the coffee shop, and I was like, oh, this is so great. We should share this, because you made a big life shift to the healthy lifestyle, fitness space, whatever, a little later in life after like a whole career, and you're a family woman. So tell me how you got to be a lifestyle health coach, nutrition coach.
I'd love to. Yeah. And it just depends how far you really want to go back. Because for me, my journey really did start, I would say, when I was in middle school.
Okay.
The reason that it started back then was because I grew up in Long Island in Belmore. I don't know if you're familiar with Belmore, America. I know we're both Northeast
I'm a Jersey girl, and I went to
Jersey girl. So I'm a Long Island girl.
Okay.
And my mom owned 2 health food restaurants in Belmore and Merrick. And they were
Merrick. I know
all
Merrick
the jazz
too.
Back then. That's when like Tafuti came out and all the frozen yogurt stores. And, I grew up in a very healthy household with a mom who was an entrepreneur in the restaurant business.
Okay.
She was also a decorator on the side. And my dad was a bodybuilder turned marathon runner when he lost both of his parents at 34 years old and 36 years old. So he was bodybuilding. And when he lost his second parent, he became so afraid of his life that he started running, and literally was like Forrest Gump.
Like a therapeutic type of running?
Completely therapeutic. But 1 mile led to 2, led to 7, led to half marathons, full marathons, Long Island marathons, New York marathons.
Oh my gosh.
And so I grew up in a household that was very focused on nutrition and wellness, and I'm one of 3 girls.
Yeah,
I'm
activity.
one of 3. Yes, there was always kind of something healthy going on, right? But when we got a little bit older, my mom and dad recognized like the restaurant business was very, very challenging.
Yes,
and
I've been in it. I know this for sure.
Yes, yeah. I remember you telling me that. I mean, they worked all the time, and it was really rough. And they decided to make a lifestyle shift and move from Long Island to New York, from Long Island to Coral Springs.
Oh,
that's I was a freshman in high school.
Okay.
And they were like, we want to move. We're either going to move to Arizona or Florida. Do you have a choice? And I remember being 13, being like, I know 2 people that live in Boca. Let's go there.
Yeah.
Right. So we ended up moving down, and I went to high school and University of Florida to study psychology.
Okay.
So wellness was like always my thing. Love connecting, building relationships, and I went to school to study psychology.
Okay.
Right after I graduated college, I moved to New York because, full circle. I just felt like Florida was great, loved living in Coral Springs, but when I moved at 13, something was left on the table. And I just wanted to go back to New York to really figure out, like, where am I meant to be in life? And within 6 months of living in New York, my mom was diagnosed with brain cancer.
Oh my gosh.
And she had passed away that August. So I moved back to New York.
Okay.
In, I don't know, whenever you graduate college, June. And she was diagnosed in January, and she was gone in August.
Oh, that's fast.
So I was going to get my master's in psychology. That was the whole plan the whole time.
Right.
But I had to survive. I could not go back to school. So I got a job in corporate America at an investment bank in Manhattan, and I just really started working.
Wow.
And I had an amazing career at American Express for 15 years. I was working in the towers on 9/11, which is ironic that it's today.
Yeah, that we're recording
because we're
this.
going down memory lane, right? A lot of things are going to come up today in this podcast.
Absolutely.
That trigger our thoughts. So, I loved corporate America, and I really grew up at American Express. I developed a core set of skills on the business side. I did marketing, I did business development, I did human resources. Like, I literally grew up there.
Wow, yeah.
And when we moved down from New York to Florida, and this is so crazy how life just keeps going, right? Mm-hmm. So again, family situations changed, job situations changed with my husband. We just decided to take a leap of faith and move down to Weston.
Oh my gosh.
From the Upper East Side in Manhattan. And I transferred down with my American Express job.
Okay.
So the whole having a psychology background and working in corporate America, my skill set was really just built on developing relationships. I had 125 merchant accounts that I was the face of American Express with. And it's a lot of psychology. It's a lot of organizational psychology, but not on the health side. And I woke up one day and I was like, I'm healed. I'm healing. I just want to go back to helping people.
Were you still, though, living a healthy lifestyle through it, like even being in corporate America? Because a lot of times people will take the corporate jobs and they'll kind of lose themselves because there's like that hustle, that grind, that working in New York, and your time is, not as free to like get to the gym, and you're exhausted, or you're commuting, or you're and the hours are crazy. Did you stick with all those, with the things that you learned from growing up with your parents, or was it harder to bring it all together again with a busy corporate life?
That's a great question. I think that my history as a child, when I went through puberty, probably after I moved to Florida. So in New York, I was like this cute little girl, moved to Florida, went through puberty. My body really changed a lot freshman year of high school. And I remember when I turned 16, one of the first places I drove myself to was Weight Watchers.
Why did I know you were going to say that?
You knew that was coming.
I knew it was coming. It's like, I feel like our generation, like I joined Weight Watchers, like so many women who I've had on the podcast are like, I joined Weight Watchers. It was like we were searching for answers, and Weight Watchers had them. So we thought at the time, they had systems, they had a plan, and we were all looking for plans. Like coaches were not out there to teach us or help us with nutrition, and everybody was searching for answers, and Weight Watchers seemed to have a system laid out. And so many people, no matter how you struggled with your weight or what you were, joined Weight Watchers to like start to wrap their head around, how do I eat to stay fit and healthy and keep my weight under control, correct?
It's so interesting because I had a mom who was educated, and I had a dad who was a bodybuilder and a runner.
Right.
And I'm a middle child of 3 girls, and yet I'm driving myself at 16 to Weight Watchers by myself. I remember going into the meetings, taking off my shoes and socks,
doing the
stepping on the scale in front of like 100 people. And I became a lifetime member probably within my first year. And I really started learning about my interest in health and wellness probably at 16. That's really when it started.
Yeah.
So throughout high school, I was very body conscious. I was on the tennis team. But you know what? To be honest, they didn't teach you anything back then. And that's part of what kills me today. Yeah. Part of the reason why I coach so many young people, men, women, kids in high school, kids in college. I cannot believe how much has changed since we were 16. I'm turning 50 this year. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And we're still not teaching basic health and wellness principles in school.
Amen.
So I agree. That's a whole other kind of topic, but I really became very interested in it back then. Yeah. And then when I went to college, I worked out a healthy lifestyle, nothing too crazy.
Okay.
When I moved to New York, within the first few months, my mom got sick and that whole situation, and I met my husband. He was such a blessing, but I met him right away.
Okay.
And our lifestyle kind of settled into the Manhattan lifestyle.
Right.
So the waking up at 5:30 in the morning to work out before going to American Express did not last very long.
Right.
Right.
That's why I asked you that, because, and then also like, things like, corporate lunches and entertaining clients. And when you work that corporate hustle, which I feel for people like that, a lot of people who work those types of jobs, like they have other it's not even just the 9 to 5, it's the dinners you have to attend and the event, like all the different things. And it becomes where it's like really hard to fit in time for yourself.
Yes. I never fully struggled with that because I am, to be honest, and for better or worse, a very type A kind of person.
Okay.
I thrive in structure.
Yes.
I thrive in regimen. I thrive in setting goals. And I do think a lot of that has to do with my psychology background, but also American Express trained my mind in a business way to think things through on a quarterly, biannual, and annual basis. So it's funny, I was chatting with somebody yesterday about my Q1 goals for 2025, and most people are like, what? We just hit back to school. Why are you already there?
Yeah.
That is a behavior that I've built from a very young age, which, like I said, better or worse, I'm not changing that behavior. It actually works for me.
Yeah.
So, my older daughter is 19, my little one's 16 and a half. I still love schedule. When they were babies.
Babies thrive on schedule. I thrive on schedule. My kids, we need schedule.
Yes, but I'm not, I've learned as I've gotten older to chill the fuck out a little bit more.
Yes.
So I'm a little bit more mellow. But, on Saturdays, Sundays, I put together my schedule for the following week. My workout schedule, my cardio schedule.
I agree. That's so important to, I do that too. I write everything out. I plan things, but you also have to be flexible in your inflexible plan. You have to learn to okay, stuff. I just told you when I got here, tonight I plan to take this class. I love to take this exercise class at night. Now I got to figure out taking my car into the shop. I don't know if I'm going to make the class, but okay, I'll reschedule for tomorrow. You have to kind of finesse your life a little bit to make sure that you still get in what you want to do, but life is not going to be perfect and there's going to be plenty of wrenches that are thrown along the way. So,
you know what? I learned that the hard way because when my mother was diagnosed with her brain cancer, I was living in New York and they were down here in Florida. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the family said, you're young, you're eager, you're ambitious, don't come home, do your life, mom is gonna be fine. Wow. And she ended up passing away, and there was a very large chunk of time that I could have been with her in Florida that I was not, right? And you learn adverse childhood experiences, okay? Even though I was not a kid, I was 21, 22 when she passed away, you learn that you cannot control everything.
Right.
And there's, you can plan, you can structure. And one of my friends that is also into health and wellness, he's an athlete. We were chatting one day at the gym and I said, what has made you successful as an NFL player? And he said, proper preparation prevents poor performance. Yeah. And if you think about that in every aspect of your life, especially when you're goal setting or you're guiding kids or you're building a business, look what you've done. You could not have done that without a plan.
Oh, no.
So it's interesting. Yes, I have taken my foot off the gas at certain periods in my life to grow other things or to heal from trauma, right? Yeah. And being able to pivot as an adult is, we should never take that for granted. Never. We're always changing.
Oh, the pivot word. I love that you just said that because nowadays I'm always we just pivot. Yes, you can plan out the perfect week, but for the chances of that happening, there's always going to be things. Whenever it works out, it's great, I accomplished everything, but that's not
you just
realistic
don't really know.
Life to set yourself up. And sometimes it's we want perfection. When you aim for perfection is also when it's hard to live up to a perfect standard, this perfect perfection situation. You know what I'm saying?
I'm over it. I've had
stressful.
so many examples lately. I was just in Japan and I was doing a tour in a Buddhist Shinto, which is like a temple. Okay. And we had a tour guide, and the tour guide was talking about perfectionism and how in the Buddhism world, they don't ever strive for that. Yeah. Because once you get there, then what? You're always searching for something. You're always going to the next thing. So making progress and these little baby steps in life, to me, is the ultimate goal right now. I don't even strive. What is perfection? And listen, I know we're going to talk about bodybuilding. I know we're going to talk about our physiques. I know we're going to talk about all this stuff in today's podcast. Sure. But we're always it's always okay for us to change and say, you know what, this used to work for me, but it doesn't work anymore. So, fast forward, when I moved down to Florida, I moved here. First of all, I transferred with American Express, more or less. And I told them I was moving when I didn't actually have a move date yet. So when I got the job, the transfer, they were like, okay, you're going to start in 2 weeks. And I turned to my husband, Andy, and I'm like, we're moving to Florida now. We have to figure this out.
In 2 weeks, yeah.
In 2 weeks. So when I moved down here, I was working, 65, 70 hours a week with a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old and adapting to like this whole transition.
Right.
I got into running.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I was so into running like half marathons and training, and I'd get up early in the morning and I'd go for like the 3-hour run. And
my God.
That was so therapeutic. It's life for me has gone in a lot of circles, right?
Yeah.
Because my dad, who lost his parents, became a marathon runner to work through a whole bunch of stuff.
Right.
Processing the move from New York to Florida and coming down here and that whole process, I found running to really help me analyze and work through a lot of my stuff.
Did you do a lot of thinking while you ran? Is that why?
Thinking beyond. Yeah. I just felt very liberated that I didn't need a gym. I didn't need weights. I needed my own 2 feet. And I needed a pair of sneakers.
Right.
And some days, if the headphones didn't work, I would go out without any music, and I would just take in the sun and the birds and the noise and just be with it. That's really when I started getting into spirituality, I think. I think the running kind of took me there a little bit.
Okay.
And then the running led to looking at my body and being like, I'm doing so much of this. Why aren't I changing at all?
Okay.
Like, where is it? What? I mean, yes, cardiovascularly, it's amazing to go out for a 4-mile run and then be at 7 or 8 and feel the same and feel great and feel like you could just keep going. But like when I looked at everything else, like how am I getting stronger? Am I building muscle? Am I feeling toned? Absolutely not.
Okay. I'm glad that you touched on that. I was going to ask you, because you eventually made a transition into wanting to compete in a bikini, which is a feminine form of bodybuilding. I competed in figure, so we had that in common. And I personally, I dabbled in running. Like the most I do is like a 5K, but I never got into the long distance running that you talked about. And because of the aesthetic part of it that I felt like that it wasn't going to benefit my goals and my body to do all of that running. It just wasn't for me. And so I was curious because to get into bikini, you also have to love the aesthetic. When you compete in bodybuilding, it's about the aesthetics. You're competing on stage, comparing your body to other people's bodies. You're competing against yourself. You're building muscle. You're looking at the symmetry. You're looking at conditioning. You're looking at all that. But when you're running, aesthetics doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you look like. Anybody can be a runner, and it's not about sculpting the body. It's not about building a body. It's just about running, time, endurance, all of that. So so you made the transition into deciding that you wanted the aesthetic part.
So it's interesting because I loved the running for all the mental aspect of it.
The runner's high is a
what happened during COVID was we're from New York, and during COVID, my husband was like, let's go on a little adventure. So when COVID hit, we rented a minivan, threw the kids, the dog, and we drove to New York, and we rented a home in the mountains in upstate New York for a few months. And it was very isolating. I knew no one up there. We were in a neighborhood didn't know a soul.
Yeah.
So I built, during COVID, I built an at-home outdoor gym in Florida. And then when we went up to New York, I schlepped all my weights and everything up there. And I started, training myself based on learnings that I had picked up at a local gym in Weston. Okay. Which really was a powerlifting gym. And I never really deadlifted, squatted, and benched before. But this powerlifting gym taught me the fundamentals of training. And the gym was so cool because they were very pragmatic and structured with how they programmed you. And so it wasn't a gym where you could go in and just work out. It was a small group training gym. And the structure and the exercises and the reps and the weights and, you know, what you were focusing on that week, that month, that was all predetermined. So you would just show up, trust the process, and work out.
Oh, wow.
So I had a little bit of like a basic fundamental from that, and from like 20 years of hitting the gym as a kid and, you know, living in Manhattan. I never really knew how to work out until this powerlifting gym. So I give them all the credit for it. And so when COVID hit and I started training myself in the backyard, I was like, wow, I'm changing.
Yes.
I'm totally changing. First of all, there's so much to learn. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could never get bored.
Never.
And you put on your headphones the same way you do when you're running, and you just kind of like connect with your body in a different way. And I started seeing change, physically change. And then, you know, I was always into nutrition. I had always eaten well because of the Weight Watcher experience. But I was like, if I'm doing all this strength training, I want to understand how you eat to support the change.
Right.
So I did everything. I was pescatarian, I was plant-based, I did intermittent fasting. Literally, I would set these goals and be like, okay, this entire year, I'm going to intermittent fast. I'm going to see how my body responds. Okay. Certain benefits to this, let me move on to something else. Okay. I tried everything. And then all of a sudden, I was like, you know what? I love people. I always wanted to be a therapist. I love working out. I love being spiritual. I'm just going to go back to school and get my certification in nutrition. I want to crack the code. There's so much shit out there.
Right.
And by the way, I wasn't even into social media or the internet back then. Yeah. But I knew that there was so much baloney out there.
Yeah.
So I went back. I quit my job at American Express. I took a few consulting gigs to like keep my brain active. I got my certification all during COVID. Mm-hmm. And that's when like the real change, I was able to like really put things together. The Weight Watchers, the running, all these different food theories. I learned about over 100 theories in this certification program. Yeah. And something in me clicked. I was like, this is who I am. This is who I was when I was 13. My life just went through so much trauma. I couldn't get out of the trauma.
Yeah.
And that took a long time to heal. But once this career thing clicked for me, everything clicked, because I am a businesswoman in nature. Like, I love working and I love helping people. And I was able to help myself. I was able to heal. And then it kind of spread.
Right.
So
and I love that you kind of were like a guinea pig for yourself as far as trying all the things out. A lot of times on my social media platforms, I will preach about keto, or I'll preach about like how my thoughts on all of them, but I will also have already done them to speak on them. And so being a coach or helping other people, I feel like it is really important that you're like, look, I intermittent fasted for a year. This is what I got out of it. Or I tried, all the different diets, like you said. It's like you need to kind of have that street cred of like, okay, I've been there, I've done that. This is what I got out of it. And that way you can also kind of like understand why your client might be curious about it, or maybe saying, look, this isn't for you. Like, this would not fit your lifestyle, or and that's really important to be somebody who, I mean, the school and the certifications are one thing, but actually like going through and being on the other side before helping other people, I think is really important.
It's part of being empathetic, mm-hmm. Walking the walk, talking the talk.
Right.
And the other thing too is, for me, I'm a little slow in my ability to go all in, or at least the old me was very reluctant. When you go through trauma, you're scared. You have fears, right? You don't necessarily trust the process.
Right.
And so after a few years of training myself and working at this powerlifting thing and really understanding nutrition for athletes, because if you're going to work out and you're going to lift weights and you're going to train and do cardio, you should know how to eat for that lifestyle.
Right.
So I forged a relationship very slowly with a woman who became a very good friend, and we would talk a lot about the different workouts we were doing, and she would tell me, oh, go and buy this workout program online. This woman's really good, and I started doing that. And then when I was in the mountains in New York, the second year of COVID, so, so it was like summer, full year off of school, and then we went back.
Right.
she and I were chatting at the end of that gig, and we were like, maybe we should start to work out together, because we were buying the same workout programs. She was working out at home. I was working out at home. So I said, when I get back from Lake George, I'm all in. I'm following you. Yeah. This woman is a researcher, and I'm not. I'm not a researcher. Yeah. So she found us a bodybuilding bikini trainer. Okay. In Davie, Florida. And in August of, 2021, 2022, whenever it was, we started going to this guy's house. It was like probably not even 1,100 square feet. Okay. And he had machine after machine. You guys, I did not even really understand what a glute was. Yeah. Still. I mean, I was still focused on the powerlifting. Like, I wasn't thinking, develop your glutes, build them up. I wasn't thinking...
Because now this is getting into, like, powerlifting is also different than bodybuilding, which is the aesthetic of it. So
exactly. Yeah. And I was like, if I'm going to work this hard and eat this well, I want to see some change. Yes. So this guy's name was Juan, and we were working out with him during COVID. It was just the two of us in his home because he couldn't fit more people, and it was COVID. Right. And I did not want to work out with a mask. And we were not, he was not the right fit for me. In terms of his approach. And sadly, he ended up dying of COVID.
Oh, my God.
Like a month after I figured out we were not going to be like a long-term coach relationship, he had passed away, but I was loving the work I was doing with him. And I was like, I'm into this. I love this. I'm going all in. I love building. Yeah. Building is so cool. I love the word. I love the mindset. I love the strength. And it really started testing my self-esteem. Because I would approach things as like, I can't do that. I can't do that. And then I started learning, oh my God, I'm capable of that. Yes. I'm capable of that. So then this same friend said to me, I found us a new coach. Okay. And she was a hardcore bodybuilding coach. Okay. And so we left Juan, who had passed away, and we started working out at a hardcore bodybuilding gym, where most of the people in there were competitors. Right. And that's when I decided to compete. I just went all in. I didn't do any research. I just said, this is something that I want to do. I'm going to trust this woman. I didn't even know the coach. And for 14 weeks, I went into prep.
Oh, my gosh. Now, how old were you at this?
You're a pro at this.
Which is, that's why I was like, oh, my gosh. Because, I worked for, let's see, if I started weight training when I was 12 and I did not compete until I was 26. So I had years of body building muscle that because I was always into the aesthetics. I was always into that type of training. So I wanted to finally see the muscle that I had built underneath all those years, because I did get, I was bench pressing and doing all the, I was going to the gym, from as soon as I could drive. I was 17 in New Jersey. My senior year, I joined a gym. I was into it. So it's but I had, all those years that I was then I was ready. I'm let me see what's under here. I had some decent legs. My delts were built. But for you hadn't spent all those years building. And then all of a sudden to be like, okay, we're going for it and doing a prep. Whoa.
And also I had never eaten that much food in my entire life. I said to the coach, what's the process here? She's like, you just kind of have to trust it. And I went from eating healthy, because I knew how to eat healthy at that point. I was a nutrition coach. I knew about macros, right? Okay. I knew about protein, carbs, and fats. I knew about the appropriate, percentages that you should have of each, and what clean eating is about, and gut inflammation.
Did you build first? Were you first in a build and then you were going to do the cut? Oh, wow.
No.
Okay.
Well, we picked a show date. So I hired the coach August 1, and we picked a show December 4th. So
because usually shows the prep is the shred. The off season is when you build all your muscle. You're kind of eating in a little bit of a surplus, or you whatever, and you're packing on the muscle, and then the prep is the shred now off the body fat and reveal everything. So you just jumped into shred everything off?
Yeah, and if you look at the post that I did yesterday on Instagram, you would see, honestly, I've transformed so much, because now I think strong is so sexy. Yes. I don't think skinny is. Yes. And when you look at the picture I posted yesterday, I was beyond lean. And technically, you know, I think that I could have done it the reverse. I think if my mindset was ready for the build, I probably could have jumped into that and done that for a full year.
But at the time, was the build scary for you because of
beyond the food? Yeah. And, you know, I can totally empathize now because I do coach a lot of different people.
Yeah.
And that's, to your point, why actually having gone through all these different experiments, like I can be empathetic of so many situations that my clients face because, listen, I did not have a great self-esteem in high school, right? I became a mother. I went through that whole losing your baby weight. How do you do that? Who do you talk to? Yep. I never went to a nutritionist. I never knew that there were coaches out there until later on in life. So I was 45 when I competed. And now I'm turning 50. So, you know, things just happen slowly over time. And I think that the whole build phase, if someone were to have fully explained to me this process.
It's scary for women.
It's very scary. But the whole phases of like, what does maintenance look like? Mm-hmm. What does a build phase look like? What does a cut phase look like? What are the variations? How do you eat for the lifestyle in all of those? Because if you start with someone who has low skeletal muscle mass and you start with someone who has low lean body mass, you can't really take away too much food because that's not metabolically going to be healthy for that person, especially a person who is 45 years old, perimenopausal, yada, 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 who doesn't want to do testosterone and hormone replacement yet, et cetera. And that's a whole other, you know, we could talk about that later. But, you know, I think the coaching world is very interesting because we all want to help our clients, right? And we have clients coming to us from different places, from different starting points. Yep. And I probably should not have rushed to get to that, but I didn't know any different.
Right.
And so that was a while ago. Since then, I've kind of been building. I mean, I am eating in a surplus now. I'm comfortable with
the building is the part that's really fun because that's where you see the shape. That's where you see, you know, a lot of people are like, I just want to lose body fat. But it's like then you lose the body fat. And if you haven't built anything under that body fat, then it's like, what are you shredding off to then reveal? And the reveal is the beautiful aesthetic part that people want to see that makes such a beautiful body, you know, athletic looking body where if you've built, you know, delts and you have these like beautiful delt muscles or the glutes that you're talking about, like a lot of times people are so eager I'm going to lose all the weight and then I'll worry about muscle building. And it's like, well, you're going to lose the weight and then you're going to have like this flat tush. It's going to be a pancake because you haven't built any glutes. Like, why don't you do it simultaneously? Like, yes, it's okay to be working towards, you know, losing some body fat, but like work hard in the gym. Let's be putting some of those calories into building a muscle and building that shape so that when you're done, you're not just like left with like this like smaller version of what you just had.
Exactly. But you know what? It's interesting. Weight Watchers back then, obviously, Weight Watchers is a weight loss platform.
Yes.
Okay, so our foundations were set in the 70s and 80s and 90s. Richard Simmons, Jane Fonda, skinny, 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 skinny. And I think it's a beautiful thing how things have changed.
Beautiful.
And
I love it.
And I love coaching young women that want to build muscle.
Yes.
Okay. And, you know, I have a health coaching business. I believe that finding the right coach for you at the time that you're at is the most important thing.
Yes.
So, you know, I work with mindset coaches and I refer some people that are having trouble with roadblocks of, you know, yes, I want to change my physique, but I'm just not there yet. So what do I do in the meantime? So we have to look at each person that we're working with or each client to help figure out what is that person's pain point.
Right.
How do they see themselves?
Our generation has a more difficult time. I mean, I'm 44, you know, born in the 80s and like, I still, you know, Richard Simmons, Jane Fonda, I grew up with all, you know, my mom doing that stuff. And it's harder for us to wrap around because we already had this like conditioning of where it's like cardio, you know, with what they preached. And then eating a lot of food is scary. Like, with Weight Watchers, you got your points, and those were the points that you had to stick to. And it was like, we were not eating to build muscle. We weren't eating to like have these like aesthetic changes that we're talking about. And so it's very scary for us. I find the younger generation now, like my own daughters, I'm constantly like, guys, you need more protein, or we're lifting weights because we're getting strong. And like the words that I use in my house are very different from what we used in the 80s and 90s, and what our goals were. And so like when you say the younger girls and you're excited that they want to come building muscle, because muscle that is like what's hot and trending now. Like everyone realizes like it's not just the, jazzercise workouts that are changing bodies. It's muscle, and what longevity is muscle, and all of those things. Anti-aging, exactly. So, I mean, I think we have an easier time with the generation today to coach. Like they're more coachable, because when you look around, it's like muscle is. When we say muscle, we don't mean like just like big grotesque muscle women. We're talking about like firm, athletic builds, rather than just stick thin and just eating their few hundred calories or whatever, like that we were doing in the 80s. That was the trend.
Yeah, it's still a little surprising at how many people I do need to educate. I mean, listen, but I was there, so I have empathy.
Yeah,
it's a process. Taking somebody out of a calorie deficit is a delicate situation, right? And increasing them slowly and showing them how the same quality foods, real, whole, fresh, local, not processed, not fried, not overly gluten foods. You can manipulate your portion sizes as you go from a cut to maintenance to build. Eat the same foods because you start to feel like a badass when you fuel your body with foods that serve you. And it takes a while for people to start to see those changes. Like the fact that your gut microbiome can change in 3 days to a week, and you could notice you're less puffy, less bloated, pooping better, more frequently by eating the right things and crowding out the foods that don't serve you, and then you're sleeping better and your sex drive is better.
Food is magic. Food is magic. I've always had that in my head, like just through the years. And I just like, food is magic. And I just say it because eating the correct foods and like you said, when people say like, oh, what are you doing now? Like as opposed to maybe when I was competing or what, it's like you said, it's like different, just like the same foods, just different portions. And, I don't know. It's just it's a scary thing for some people when you increase their calories or you talk about coming out of a deficit, like you said. But once it all clicks and you see your body responding in the right way, it's like such a magical thing. And it's like on this podcast, so often we talk about it because it's like you want people to just like trust the process and understand that like feeding our bodies is a positive thing. It's not, we're not trying to just like eat less is more, like no.
But you got to be willing to set goals and be realistic with how long it's going to take to change.
Right.
So a lot of times people want quick fixes. Oh, my kid's getting married. I need to lose 15 pounds. Why do we need an excuse to get in shape?
Right.
If we start really understanding the purpose of cardio, the purpose of strength training, the reason why we supplement.
Yep. It's education.
And it's education. And we, in today's world,
it's like
I fight it, but you know what? There's so much change going on. We want quick fixes,
and you're right.
And I wanted it too.
And people think that if they've done a diet plan perfectly for 2 weeks and they haven't seen any change, well, then it just doesn't work. And it's like, oh my gosh, like you think that you can just make those changes and in 2 weeks you're going to be a whole new person. It did not take you 2 weeks to get to where you are, that you need to make changes. So don't think that it's going to take 2 weeks to fix and undo everything that you've already done in your life to get to the point where you want to make the fit. If you're to a point where you're like, I need to lose weight or I need to weight train or I need whatever, that means you haven't been doing it. So wherever you are, it means how many years did it take for you to get to the point that you're saying, now I need to do this. Now you need to be patient and give it a decent amount of time to now for that to be your norm.
Yeah. So I'm explaining to a 54-year-old woman who's been in a calorie deficit for the past 20 years.
Yeah.
That repairing her metabolism so that she can increase her calories so that she has something to cut. I'm like, building for 4 weeks is not going to give you the end result that you want. So it's a negotiation. And that's what I do with my clients. As a lifestyle nutrition coach, I'm not feeding anyone a meal plan. I don't believe in doing that. Right. I can do it. I have the skills to do it. I will share my meal plans that I put together for myself with clients as examples.
Okay.
But I'm really an educator. And so it's a constant negotiation with where are you at today? Where do you want to go? And let's create a plan to get you there so that you're accountable to yourself.
I love coaches who believe that their clients are not supposed to stay with them forever. That they're saying, it's like you're like a mother bird saying like, look, I'm going to teach you to survive in the world and thrive out there without me. Like the whole point is like, okay, you've come to me because you obviously need help or, need guidance, but I'm going to teach you so that you have these sets of skills and for the rest of your life, that you can be 60, 70, 80, and you're still fueling your body to feel its best no matter what stage you're at. And like not saying like, Carrie, I need you. How do I eat this week? How do I eat this week? It's like, oh my gosh, like by now, like if you're not prioritizing your protein and your fresh fruits and vegetables and like, but it's, I know that it's not second nature to everybody, but the whole point is to teach people how to nourish their own bodies and how to feed themselves to have the highest quality of life, yes. Right?
And so when I coach students, I do a lot of talk to me about your study habits. How late are you staying up? When are you waking up? When is your first meal? How do you behave when you come home, after drinking?
Yeah.
You're 21 now. Like you need to learn how to eat for your lifestyle. Right. So, meal planning and meal prepping and finding solutions to challenges is what I do as a coach. The food stuff is why people hire me, but it ends up becoming the backdrop because we need to figure out what got you into this situation.
Yeah.
So like the bodybuilding stuff, I posted something yesterday. Some friends are like, are you going to hit the stage again? And I'm like, you know what? While it's tempting to get shredded for a short period of time, because guys, we are not meant to be in a long-term calorie deficit.
That extreme.
Okay.
To get that lean, you're really pushing your body to such an unhealthy point. And unfortunately, that is glamorized because it looks so cool and amazing. But like what it takes to get there and stay there is not. And I'm the first to admit that because I used to always be like, I'm just going to stay like looking like this forever. And it was like,
yes,
no, I can't.
But that is, I'm glad I went through that because like I said, the keto, the pescatarian, the intermittent fasting. Yes, I've done that. I understand how to manipulate your total daily energy expenditure to hit a certain result. But at the same time, that doesn't mean you're not going to have anxiety, okay? Right. That doesn't mean you're going to see your body any differently, right? So we have to look at like what's the goal and why and how are we going to get there, but how are we going to learn all those life skills along the way?
Yep.
Because a calorie deficit is temporary. Okay, fitting into a wedding dress for an occasion, that is temporary. But if you learn the right behaviors for you to help you maintain that lifestyle, you realize you can eat a wide range of calories and still maintain.
Yeah.
And one meal that is not ideal should not throw you off. One vacation should not throw you off. It's a mentality of really understanding what the drivers are and how to manipulate them so that your body overall 80% of the time feels good.
Okay.
Because we're not going to always perform great. We're not going to feel great every single day.
No.
We're women. Okay.
Yep. Oh, I know that for sure.
And like you have 2 daughters who I'm sure, go through their own hormone cycles.
Sure.
I remember when both of my kids started going through theirs and I was like, oh my God, I'm normal one day and the next day I'm all messed up because one of them is, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's so many variables now, perimenopause, menopause, so much we can't control. But like if you're constantly doing the right things, even if it's not on a perfect schedule, but you're committed to the process,
right,
you're getting stronger.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that's exactly what I preach. I believe in. I think, making it a lifestyle is what I've been all about, and I feel like racing to some invisible finish line is setting yourself up for a lot of disappointment because they're really, like you said, trying to fit into that wedding dress or whatever. It's like, okay, sure. I mean, I get it. We want to look beautiful on special days and we want to feel great and all those things. But putting that pressure on ourselves, I mean, right now, I look at how I live my lifestyle. Anytime I want to do anything, whether it's a vacation, an event, a photo shoot, whatever, I'm not far off from, say, where I would feel like, say, okay, well, this week I'll just clean it up, tighten it up, and great, I'll throw on a fake tan and a bikini and I'll do a photo shoot. Because why? I'm not rushing my body. I'm living that way so that then when it is time to do those things, I don't have to crash diet. I don't have to do anything crazy. I mean, I do, like you said, I know how to manipulate my body if I want to look a little tighter, a little more muscular, if it's for a fitness shoot or something like that. But other than that, like, I'm not suddenly going like, oh my God, I have to now crash diet to fit into some dress or do something. And then, because then we also have to remember that once you get there, it's like, so what's your plan now? You're going to go back to what you were doing before? Or you didn't want to stay here? Like this was just for today? Why wasn't this, keep going to what so if you look fabulous on your wedding day, then what's the problem? Like, keep going, just keep doing the things that got you there. But if they're not realistic and you rushed and you crash dieted, you're not going to be able to sustain that. And that's where a lot of people crash and burn, and then they do the yo-yo and and they gain back.
So your question to me when I was like my executive, not executive, but worker at American Express, and did I, give up anything, et cetera? Mm-hmm. Like, obviously you're a kick-ass rock star businesswoman. You have 3 kids. You guys travel. Does your schedule structure, waver, or do you stick to your schedule no matter what for the most part?
For me, my schedule changes every freaking day. And, I get wrenches thrown into my plans all the time. When you have 3 kids, you get a call from the school, somebody's sick, stuff happens. I realized last night I had back to school night from 6:30 to 9. I was starving, didn't eat dinner. Now my last meal, I still had like in my because I count macros right now too. I had like 700 calories left. I'm like, oh my God, like how am I fitting all this in? Like, no, every day is, but I stick to my principles and my lifestyle, and I'm still going to make those choices. I'm still going to get home, and I'm not going to just go, I'm just going to run through the drive-through. No, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm still going to get home and make my green beans and my lean ground beef and some feta cheese and whatever the heck. And I put together this beautiful bowl, and it's a with some brown rice, and I put together something healthy, and I don't let it just, oh, well, I just got home late, so I'm starving, and I'm just going to let it throw my whole thing off. Okay, so I'm eating a little later than what I planned. I'm still going to do my lifestyle. And so I've had to learn with business all the time. We have things happen and things come up, and I was on my way here and my car wasn't working. Okay, like we pivot, and like that comes back to that word where, so I have the structure in my life and the plan where I'll say like, I plan to get in, 3 or 4 long walks this week, and I plan to do my yoga or my stretching, and I plan to do my weight training, and I'll put them into my schedule. And then every now and then I kind of have to like manipulate around the schedule, move some things around. Stuff comes up with the kids. But it's when you have that lifestyle in place and those weekly goals that you already know you want to hit, it's just about sometimes playing a chess game, moving those pieces, but still accomplishing everything that you wanted to. and then not also being hard on yourself if it doesn't happen.
Exactly.
If I don't make the weight training class tonight, okay. And if I only get 3 walks and not 4, okay. Okay, I'll survive. Next week is a new week. And so I give myself grace because we all have these like crazy lives with stuff going on. And, in the next episode, I want to talk about, I just recently, and I'll say I suffered a burnout because I burned out. I had a
from what aspect of life? Burnout from work or exercising?
Everything. I took a Dutch test and I had no cortisol. My adrenals were burned out and I couldn't get out of bed for a week. I was legitimately burned out, like in my hormones, in my cortisol, in everything. And I had to go to a functional doctor and I was like, what is going on? And all my levels. And it was because it was like, well, Dana, you're burning it at both ends. And I didn't intentionally mean to do that. But when you have a lot on your plate and you're trying to get everything in and you have high expectations and you kind of want that perfect week and you're like still trying to make it all happen, sometimes it can backfire. And it did on me.
And sometimes we don't know when it's going to backfire. For some people, it turns into a panic attack. For other people, it turns into a breakdown. For other people, it turns into a binge eating situation.
Oh, that's definitely
hit rock bottom and they think fuck it. Food is just going to help me feel better. And that's one of the things that I have really learned a lot about since 16 and going through all this, because I came from a home that was very focused on your appearance.
Sure.
My grandmother would never leave the house without makeup. She was like this done up woman. And, I studied abroad in Spain. And when I came home from Spain, I probably gained 20 pounds. And the first thing my grandparents said to me was, oh my God, your face looks like a bowling ball. Okay. I mean, there were many, many things that I experienced growing up that made me internalize certain things and certain voices, right? And we tend to become our own worst critic.
Yeah.
I think sometimes, and we need to understand that, yes, we can do all of these things. I can go run a half marathon.
Yeah.
I can start my calorie deficit tomorrow. I can take on 1 million clients. But I'm not going to, because being able to sleep at night, being able to stick to a structure of low stress, and be able to use tools like adaptogenics, okay? Mm-hmm. It's funny, since I got into this business, I've been so loyal to the products that I have fallen in love with.
Sure.
Like your product. Like certain aminos that I take. Mm-hmm. I've been taking the same master aminos for the past 2.5 years that have changed my life. Okay. They've enhanced my workouts. They've helped me put on muscle. They've helped me realize that just build your stack of things that you can rely on. Build your stack of behaviors. Build your support system.
Yeah.
And this career has been so fucking amazing for that support system because I have found people like you, like the guy who referred me to you, that have become my support family in a non-judgmental way, in a cheerleader way. Mm-hmm. And I've always been that for everybody else. Yeah. And finding this career and making friends with other coaches, other people that just want to change the world has given me, I said to someone yesterday, I'm good. This is great to know what you're made for. Yeah. And we have to grow up and we have to go through recognizing that saying yes all the time and doing more isn't always the way to go. So it sounds like you've gone through that and you had to reevaluate. So let me ask you, so what did you take away temporarily to help you recover?
To help me recover and then now how I'm going to go forward, what I'm doing right now.
Well, how did you, with someone who's so go, mm-hmm. right? You have a business, you have the kids, you have a lifestyle, you have your mom,
I have a lot. Yeah.
And you got these results back and you're like, holy shit, now I know why I feel like crap.
Yeah.
I have to address it.
Yep.
What was your approach to pairing stuff, taking stuff off temporarily so that you could heal?
Well, first of all, I had to, stop all anything that was putting stress on my body, like physical stress. And I had to start to like relax more and just, it's funny. I said to my mom, where I am in my career with devotion, in October, it's going to be 9 years. And there was a time when it was all on my plate, and or I'd only have one or two helpers or people helping me. I always have people helping me on my team. It's not like it was sort of a one-man show, but meaning like I was handling a lot. Like years ago, it was like I was doing customer service. I was handling the POs. I was handling the invoicing. I was doing social media. I was doing everything, in charge of working with the packaging and the website. And it was so stressful. And it was all day, every day. And then it was juggling my kids. And it was going through, I was in a marriage where I ended up getting a divorce. And, and that's a stressful thing. And it was like, I was like, and I was so into fitness. I was always like keeping my body in like top shape and meal prepping and doing all my own stuff, everything, all my training, and I was really always burning it at both ends. But I didn't really have like a choice. I think like, it's like, I wanted to just like accomplish all these things. And nowadays, now it's like, 9 years into devotion, I have a team of like over 15 people. They're all like unbelievably professional people that are capable. And so the fact that like I've built that, the fact that I put in the foundation work to my physique, that I can take off a week, I can take off 2 weeks. And like, as long as I keep my healthy eating, like I'm not losing muscle, my body still looks great. So it's like all the years of the foundation I laid nowadays, like the last week that I just had this burnout that I was just sitting around all day, like it was okay. And I was working from home on my laptop. Devotion was still functioning beautifully. My team is like, I'm not that hustle, sleep when you're dead. And so now I'm recognizing that like I have the privilege from the work that I put in from the past, that it's like, but it's essential for me to.
But that's what I want listeners to really hear.
Yeah.
Because, people look at other people from an external point of view, and they don't understand that you can't look at people for face value. We need to be empathetic, and we need to be supportive to everybody, because we all have our own different challenges, right? So like, you can't look at me and say, oh, how can she feel this way when she's tiny, for lack of a better word, you know? So someone needs to look at you and say, you've been spending years building a pipeline, building a lifestyle, building. And when you do that over time, you can chill out a little bit more. You can take breaks. And a setback is a step forward.
Yes.
Because you recognize in this situation, I don't want to fucking burn out again.
Right.
That is not the desired result, guys.
No.
For anybody who is listening, I think you're learning from a 44-year-old and a 49-year-old who've been through a lot with family and, we're different type A's, but we're assertive women that like want to enhance our lives, our businesses, etc. It is okay to take rest days. It is okay.
It's essential. Like you have to.
You have to rest and recharge. And I came up years ago with this method. And this is one of the reasons why I look up to you, is because until it's done, like you've got certain things with your marketing that are just easy to understand. People can remember your brand. Devoted to your nutrition. So when I was raising the kids, I read one book. You know me, don't do a lot of research. And I learned the easy method in raising your kids. You want your kids to eat, be active, sleep, and then as the mom, your time. Okay? So easy. It's easy to remember. This is the cycle that I need to put my kids through every 3 to 4 hours. Eat, activity, sleep, your time. So mommy can put on makeup, mommy can do laundry, mommy can cook.
Amen. I did that too. Yep.
So as a nutrition coach, I coined for myself, one day maybe I'll write a book, the EARN method. Okay? Eat, activity, rest, recover, now everything and everyone else.
Right. Okay? I love that.
So if you want to earn your health and happiness, because it is not handed to anyone on a silver platter. I don't care what you look like. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how successful or how many homes you have. It is not a guarantee that you're going to be happy and healthy. No. You need to earn it. Okay. So in regards to teaching people my method, every 3 hours, I want you to earn your health and happiness. What that means is I want you to eat. I want you to be active. I want you to rest and recover. And if it takes a journal that makes you rest and recover, and you write in your journal for 3 minutes a few times a day, that's resting and recovering. You're resting and you're recovering your mind. You're processing your stress, okay? Now you can take care of everyone else. You can be the wife. You can be the sibling. You can be the employee. You can be the volunteer person. You could do it all when you take care of yourself first.
Yep.
And
true.
I love that method because as a nutrition coach, I'm helping people flip the switch and create new behaviors. And so many people have been intermittent fasting for years and they're stuck in a rut, or they hit a plateau with their journey and they need to go back and change things. Okay. So I personally believe that fueling our body frequently with small meals is a great way to keep getting your protein, right? So that method of every 3 to 4 hours, earn your health and happiness, it goes with your food. It goes with your movement. If you think, I could never go to the gym for 45 minutes a day. The gym's too far. It's too much time. Then I have to come home and shower. Okay. Maybe that's an okay excuse. But on my earn method, take 45 minutes and divide it by 4 cycles. So are you telling me you don't have 12 minutes or 10 minutes at a time to get up from your desk and walk around the block,
right?
Or go get your mail, or when you go to Whole Foods or Trader Joe's, park your car the furthest parking spot away and walk 4 minutes to the store.
Those that add up.
All of it adds up. I have a colleague at, I work at Precision Skin and Body in Davie, Florida. And it's amazing. And I have colleagues there, and we just brainstorm on ways to squeeze in movement. I have a colleague of mine who's completely transformed her body. Every time she goes to the bathroom, she does jump squats after she washes her hands. She'll do like a minute, an AMRAP of just jump squats.
Wow.
Yep.
That's
fun. She's
fun.
been on a weight loss journey for about a year, and she continues to build muscle, lose fat, and she hasn't gone to the gym. Guys, change.
That's
change
amazing.
Happens.
I love that challenge.
We don't need to walk 10,000, 12,000 steps a day.
Yeah.
We need to rest, recover. We need to.
I've learned that because it's for me sitting around, I'm like, oh, I should be doing something. And that was the mentality that got me into that spot, that I felt guilty not going because, that's what built my everything, was like hustle. But then I realized, like, you can't, just like with extreme dieting, you cannot keep up that pace forever. And same thing with the hustle. And, I believe in hard work, and there's nothing wrong with hard work. I mean, you need hard work, but some of us, it's just, you forget to kind of like recharge and rest your body and let your body use the fuel, the food that we're feeding it, to rebuild up and heal and mend. And your muscles, like, they're growing when you're resting. So it's like, let them heal before you tear them back up again. A lot of people just want to feel like guilty if they don't go to the gym. And I'm like, you're going to the gym, but you're tearing yourself apart at the gym. It's when you're finally sitting down, eating a healthy meal and sleeping and resting, when you're rebuilding. So
our bodies are amazing machines. And you know what? They will slow down. They will slow down if we don't rest.
They will.
They will slow down if we don't feed them. They will slow down at hormonal times. I'm a firm believer that we should kind of take a look at our workouts at the different phases of our hormone cycle and, adjust them if we are not feeling the way that we want to feel. Right. It's one thing if you're feeling amazing the whole month and you can, hit the gym and strength train consistently on that schedule throughout your cycle. But if you are digging deep and you're like in touch with what your body needs, if you are not feeling great, there are other forms of exercise to do that week of your hormone cycle that won't drive you into fight or flight mode. Right. And it's that fight or flight mode that we get into, whether it's work stress or lack of sleep or this election stuff or whatever it is, what's going on in the world. these are all things that affect our stress levels, our cortisol levels, and our ability to sleep.
So what are a couple exercise examples that you would tell somebody who is stressed out but still you need that activity? What do you think that what's the best type of thing that they should do to still feel like they're getting that active part?
So on the cardio side or on a strength training side?
I'd say both. Like, what do you think? What would you recommend for somebody who has a high stress life and that you don't want them burning out, but you want them to still like hit that A in active?
So I have learned the hard way that over cardioing it is not the solution.
The answer,
So, and literally, like, I haven't had a physique coach in a few years, but the last one that I had, she kind of was teaching me that I could cut my cardio and be just fine.
Yeah.
So I actually think that like 20 minutes a day of like a nice walk or a Peloton ride, or I love the stair climber.
Yeah.
Like 20 minutes is a great way to elevate your heart rate, to get that adrenaline. I mean, I love cardio because to me it's like my own party.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like I love it because it gives me like a natural high.
Me too.
I don't get that from strength training. I get a completely different feeling from strength training. So I feel like at a minimum 20 minutes of movement or cardio a day would be awesome. And I think from a strength training point of view, I kind of feel like 3 days a week should be like the minimum for women our age, or even anyone. I think 3 days a week is fantastic.
I think so, yeah.
And what I've even learned more is you don't need an hour and a half of strength training. You can be really effective in 30 or 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Back to my cheesy sayings from my friend who taught me well. The proper preparation prevents poor performance. And I practice this as best as I can. But if I go to the gym without a plan, guess what? I'm there, and I'm proud of myself for going because I love it there.
Sure.
And it's my alone time, and it's therapeutic for that. But if I go in without knowing what I'm going to do, I'm not as productive because I don't know. Do I want to work back and buys? Do I want to work chest and triceps? Do I not really want to lift weights? And do I want to do more of like a stretching? Do I want to do more?
So if you don't have a plan, a lot of people just end up then on the treadmill because they don't know what the heck they're doing. They end up going back to the rut of just doing cardio, walking on a treadmill. And then after, 30, 40 minutes, whatever, they're like, okay, I've had enough. I'll go stretch. I'll do some ab things. And then I'm
out of there.
And then I'm out. But it's like you didn't show up and really accomplish very much. I mean, great for getting on the treadmill and moving your body. But like we said, that's not going to
move the needle.
No.
So I became most successful when I started keeping a spreadsheet of my week, and I have it segmented into different categories. I'm very big on biofeedback, very big on like, how did you sleep? Did you poop? What's your stress level? And I have like codes for everything. What day are you in your hormone cycle? And I look at everything on a week-to-week basis. So on Sunday, I plan things out. And if I'm coaching someone who's like an investment banker and going to be eating lunch and dinner out and traveling across the world, like we tweak the plan for that week to make things work. So for example, some of the things that I will do is say, okay, you don't have time to do cardio, nor did you pack your cardio stuff, but you're traveling alone and you really don't have a lot of bags. Instead of sitting at the gate waiting for your plane for an hour. Let's practice. We're not sitting in the Delta Lounge or the Amex Lounge. You're going to just walk around the airport for like 40 minutes. Okay. Number one, you're getting your steps in. Number two, it's much healthier for you to be on a flight when you've had some movement and you're moving your legs. And here's what we're going to do with your water intake on the flight. How much would you normally drink on the flight? Okay, we're going to increase that by 20%.
Right.
And I explained to them the reason why I'm having you do this is circulation. I want you to get up and go to the bathroom a bunch of times because that's healthy for you. It's not so healthy for you to be sitting on a 10-hour flight. I think my mind just works very solution focused to help come up with ways to get that to your end result.
You're giving these to clients that aren't thinking of those things and that they need it, and you're just planting these seeds. And what happens is that you plant the seed in somebody's head, and then the next time hopefully they're going to do it again, and then they're going to do it again. And then every time they go to the airport, instead of just sitting in the lounge eating snacks, they're going to then say, oh, you know what? I got 30 minutes. I'll take a couple laps.
Yes. And so to your question, so how would you advise someone to keep things up when they need to slow down a little bit? Mm-hmm. I think that the same thing that we talked about, your nutrition, being more or less the 80-20 rule with like eating clean and your volumes just change when you're in a cut versus when you're in maintenance versus when you're in a build.
Right.
I think it should be a similar strategy for your working out in a way. So like if you're in an all-in week, you would work out 3 or 4 times a week with strength training for an hour.
Right.
And you're having a stressful week. Maybe don't go 3 or 4 times, maybe go 2 or 3, and maybe don't go for an hour, maybe go for 30 to 45 minutes.
Right, so adjust the volume and all of that.
Yes, because I think that sometimes less is more, and when you scale back on one thing, it gives you and God an opportunity to bring other things in that are really important.
Yep.
So after my bodybuilding competition, I was like, I want to be this way forever. I love how I feel and all that. But I was so consumed with that the spirituality that my life really needed, I didn't have room for that.
Okay.
And so like scaling back a little bit on all the physical stuff created room for me to become a little bit more spiritual, which at the end of the day is a healthier balance for me.
Right.
And it's funny, I was chatting with another colleague in the space who's been a trainer for like 30 years. And we were just chatting about like the duration of how much cardio is important, how much strength training is important. And he's been training people forever. And he's seeing people age by cutting back a little bit and resting more.
Yes.
So we have to help people figure out what works for them.
I agree.
And, the emotional eating side of my business is near and dear to my heart.
Well, we'll get into that because I want to talk about that on our next episode.
Okay.
Because that's a meaty one. That's
so
a meaty
good.
one. All right, well, we're going to wrap up this episode. This is a 2-part series, you guys, and we're going to hear more from Carrie because this has been we've packed a lot of good stuff into this. I think there are a lot of take-home messages in here. Your views align with mine. Everything that you're saying, I agree with. I mean, I love the direction this is going. So, okay,
Can I say one more thing before we hang up on this? Okay, so given that I lost my mom when I was 22 years old, and I really exercised mostly with my dad, this concluding remark is to the moms and the daughters out there that want to strengthen their relationship, especially with teenage girls, where it's very much like a push-pull situation between mom and child. I would strongly encourage you to find something physical and fun to do together.
We're going to talk about that on the next episode.
We are?
Okay. That's my next,
And if you guys need me for any of this stuff, I
tell
love
them where to
working
find
with
you.
moms and kids and families. Like one of my thing is family health.
Yes.
I've gone through trauma, so I'm helping people to build their ideal family situation. Reach out to me at coachcarriebest.com, or I'm on Instagram, Coach Carrie Best, or you can find me on Facebook, Carrie Best Larry. I'm here for you guys. You're doing awesome, moms, kids that are stepping up to be accountable for your own health and happiness. I applaud you. You are never too young and you are never too old to go after what you want.
Love it. All right, guys, to be continued. And thanks for joining us on this episode of Until It's Done, a Devoted podcast.